Hello learners, welcome to the series of lectures on Python programming. In this video, we are going to learn about new concept, inheritance in Python. Okay, now it's the one principles of object-oriented programming language, that is inheritance. Yes. What's mean by inheritance? Right. So inheritance is a mechanism. We already have the definition here, right? So inheritance is the mechanism that allow you to create hierarchy classes, okay, that shares a set of properties and methods by dividing the class from the another, by deriving class from the one class from the another class, right? So now this is a definition of inheritance. Now we can see that the second definition here, that inheritance is the capability of one class to derive or inherit the property of from the another class. That means we have one property, so or maybe class, okay, which has some details. That is maybe a data member and member functions, right? So it contains some data and also functions. Now we can reuse the same code, okay, in the another class by using the concept of inheritance, right? Now, what's the main purpose of inheritance? To provide the reusability of a code, right? So to reuse the same code again and again. So we are going to use the inheritance, right? So to demonstrate this, to understand this inheritance concept, so we can go with the one problem. Okay. So in this case, we are creating one class, say class person class. Okay. So in this case, we are using just a bit, class person class. We have one constructor. So we already learned in the previous session, right, about the constructor. So that will store the two values, name and ID number, right? So we have two variables, name and ID number of a particular person, right? So in the same way, we are going to initialize with the help of constructor and we're going to display those values with the help of display function, right? So suppose I want to create one more class, employee class. Okay. So in this employee class, so I have to store the details of an employee along with the name and ID number. Okay. So in this case, name and ID number is already present in my person class. I can use the same name and ID number in the employee class also by using the inheritance. Right. So we can create one class, say class employee. So when you're using the inheritance, now we are going to use this parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, we have to mention the class, okay, which class we are going to inherit. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to inherit the person class. Okay, so I have to write person. Okay, and open, and I'll say pass. Now, when I say this, uh, class employee person. Now, what this person will become the parent class. So, I already mentioned your parent class, and your employee class will become the child class. Okay, so I'll just mention child class, or I can say subclass or child class. Okay, so you can call with any name. Okay, so now this the common syntax for using the inheritance. Now I have to use the one, I have to create a new class which will going to acquire the properties of person class. In this case, we are creating a new class employee, which is going to acquire the properties of a person class. Okay. So in the employee class, I'm going to define two variables. Okay. So again, I'll create a constructor. Okay. So in this case, I'll use salary, employee salary, and I'll write designation. Okay, what is this designation? So I'll just mention the salary as a float and designation as a string, okay, string value. Float and string value. So I'll create a variable self dot salary, and also I'll create designation. Okay. So now this is a constructor. So when I use the inheritance, now I can access all the properties of your parent class in the child class. That means the properties like your variables, name and ID number, as well as this function, display function, can be accessed by creating the object of employee class. We just will check that, how to do that. So first we'll create the object of employee class. Okay. So I'll write employee1 is equal to employee class. We need to pass two variables. One is salary. So I'll write some salary, say 30,000. Okay. So I'll write one designation for this. Okay. So analyst. Okay, analyst. And this will be in the string, right? String value. Right. So when I write, so now I'll access the salary. So how to access emp1 dot say salary. Just I'll use the print statement to display the value. So I created two variables. So I'll create an object, employee object with the salary and designation. So when I run the code, okay, so I'll actually it will print their salary, right? Now, when I already said that, so when I inherit the properties of one class to another class, that means from say parent class to the child class, now I can access all the properties of this child class with the help of all the properties of parent class with the help of child class, right? So now how to do that? So I will call just the display function. Okay, so I'll write print. I'll write em1 dot and display. So we have the display function here. So when I run the code, okay, I'll get the error in this line, right? So in this case, we are getting the error. Employee object does not have the attribute name. We caught up with an error saying that this name and ID number is not defined because we are not going to we're not created an object of person class, right? So when I'm not creating an object of person class, now this ID number and name are not initialized. Okay, so to initialize this name and ID number, so I can create a variable, okay, inside this constructor of an employee class, and I can call the constructor of the parent class in the child class. Okay, so by using this syntax. Now in this constructor, I've made this a little bit change. That means I've changed it to the 4 parameter. Name and ID number is a parameter of parent class, and salary and the designation is the parameter of your child class. Right. So while calling the object of the constructor, so we're using person. Now person is a parent class dot init method. It means I'm going to call the constructor or I'm going to initialize the constructor in the child class. Okay, so one argument is self, always you have to pass. Next one is name and ID number. Okay, so when I run the code, so I'll get the exact answer of this. Okay, so this name and ID number present in the parent class. Now when I say display, when I call the function employee1 dot display, now this will display, this will call the display function of your parent class. Okay, because this display function is not there in the child class, by default it will take from the parent class. Now what if I display the same thing in the child class? Okay, so copy the code. So I'll use display and also add some more properties. I'll write print self dot salary. Okay. So I'll also use one more keyword, comma. So self dot, okay, so designation. Okay. So when I call this display function, now it will take the display of the parent class. Sorry, not the parent class, it is the child class. Right. So when I run the code, so you'll get the actual answer, okay, from the child class. That means if the function is present in the child class function will be executed. If not, we will check for the in the parent class if present in the parent class, now that particular function will be executed. Okay. So now this is the basic idea behind the concept of inheritance. That means we are going to acquire the properties from the parent class, that is name and ID number, okay, to the child class, so we are reusing the same properties in the child class. So hope that lecture is helpful for you. For more videos, please subscribe to our channel.